Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. As the title down below suggests, I am doing my 'Tis the Seasonathon wrap-up and book review. I do want to make a quick little apology / disclaimer at the beginning of this video. I did not put a video up yesterday, even though I've been trying to do Vlogmas and put up a video every day. This weekend I was just feeling more than a little sick, so I just took an entire day off of filming. I just relaxed and read a little bit, and now I'm ready to get back into it. Today is my day off, so I am going to be pre-filming a bunch of videos for you guys so that there will be consistent content for the rest of December until the 25th. So, without further ado, let's get on to the video. So, the first challenge of the 'Tis the Season readathon was read a book with a red or a green spine, and I chose Cross Your Heart by Sarah Pinborough. It's got a red spine, self-explanatory why I chose it. I did end up reading this book all of Sunday, so I started and finished it on Sunday, and my rating was 2.5 out of 5 stars. I'm a little sad to be giving this book that low of a rating. I really had high hopes for it. I heard a lot of great things about it. I obviously picked it as my book of the month pick in September, so I was really hoping, as someone who doesn't actually buy a ton of books, to actually like the books that I purchase. I will say there is a lot of great things about this book. The characters are mostly female. They're all pretty nuanced, pretty realistic, some strong, some weak. I thought that was a really good portrayal of women. I also enjoyed the writing style, even though like this plot didn't really agree with me. Sarah Pinborough really does know how to write, so I did enjoy reading that part of it. She has a great writing style that's engaging. So the reasons why I gave it 2.5 out of 5 stars, and this is going to be spoiler free, so don't worry if you haven't read it, but like with any thrillers, this has a lot of twists. I did guess one of the twists, which doesn't necessarily make or break the book for me. As long as it's done in like a well done way, I still can enjoy a book that I guess the twists to, so that was no big deal, but one of the twists might not come as a surprise, so if that's a deal breaker for you, it's kind of an easy book to guess, at least some of it. Now, for some of the twists, I felt like they really cheapened one of the characters and didn't really make her as likable for me in the way that she became more likable, if that makes sense. I really enjoy reading unreliable narrators, which this has, and morally gray, or, you know, kind of characters you're not supposed to love as the main character, and this had that in there, and then lots of twists come and you find new information out, and I just felt like it kind of cheapened the story for me, and it made some of the characters, one of the characters like less, not realistic, but I just felt like they didn't need to be there. It still would have been a good story without some of the twists to kind of thrown in there to make you feel sympathy for some characters, I think. Wasn't a big fan. This story wasn't for me. You're really gonna have to suspend your disbelief on this one, I think. The ending was just alright. I did really enjoy the writing style though, so I will be picking up another Sarah Pinborough's book soon. I do already have Behind Your Eyes by Sarah Pinborough, so I will be checking that out because I think with the right kind of storyline and characters, I might really enjoy her work. This just didn't really hit any of the marks for me. Next challenge was read a book while listening to Christmas music, and I really did that for all of them. I mostly did it though for my holiday themed book, which is coming up later, but I did actually, at least for a portion of all of the books that I read during the readathon, listened to holiday music. So there is that prompt. The third prompt is read a book that will make you feel warm and fuzzy, and I picked Eragon by Christopher Paolini. I am still making my way through this one. This is actually the only book that I haven't finished. Unfortunately, I totally miscalculated how long this book was going to be. I originally picked it up thinking it was going to be 200 to 300 pages, which would make it kind of a perfect readathon book for me. This is almost 500 pages, so it was a little too ambitious, but I am going to keep reading this one this week because it did make me feel warm and fuzzy when I was reading it. It's a really great nostalgia read so far, so it did check off the box of read something warm and fuzzy. A review of this will be coming later on the channel once I finish it. The fourth prompt was read a short book, 250 pages or less, and for that prompt I read Annihilation by Vandermeer. I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed it overall. I definitely think that I wouldn't have enjoyed it as much had it been longer because I wasn't really that invested in the story. I did read kind of a similar book. I'm gonna go ahead and lump them in even though there are differences. I read The Ruins, which deals with pretty similar themes in October, so that was still fresh on my mind, and I found myself kind of drawing comparisons between the two, which I really enjoyed. The Ruins, I believe I gave it a 4.5 out of 5 stars, so this just kind of felt a little bit short for me. This is part of a trilogy, and for me, if I read a book that's in a series and I enjoyed it, but I'm not gonna read the rest of the series, I'm not gonna give it anything above 3 stars. So that's why I gave this one a 3 stars. It's very bizarre science fiction, so if you like that, then you'll probably love this book. It gives you a lot of strange information, and it doesn't actually ever give you any answers, and from reading the synopses of the second 2 books in the series, it doesn't really answer all of the questions that you have, so keep that in mind if you're going to read more in the series. For me, I enjoyed it. It was alright. It was a short read for me. I read it in a day. I had no complaints with it, but it didn't really make me feel anything either, so I did give it a 3 stars because it was a good read. I could recognize the writing was really great. The characterization was a little to be desired, but I don't think that was the point of this story really, and it was only like 190 pages, so for, you know, the amount of book it was, it did do a good job overall, but I'm just gonna give it a 3 stars because after reading this, I don't really have any desire to read the next books in the series. And then the last prompt was read a holiday themed book. And for that one, I chose Nosferatu by Joe Hill. I gave this book a 5 out of 5 stars. I really loved this book. I am a fan of most of Joe Hill's work. I had been putting off reading this one because the plot synopsis really didn't give this book any justice whatsoever. I'm really glad that the read a holiday themed book was in the prompts for this challenge because otherwise it might have taken me a lot longer to get to Nosferatu, and that would have been a damn shame because I really loved this book. The characterization is amazing. The main character, Victoria, or Vic as she's known to most characters in the book, is amazing. You're gonna fall in love with her from like the first couple of chapters, and this is something that I think Joe Hill does amazingly well. And let me just say this, Joe Hill knows how to write amazing female protagonists. And even though I have noticed, you know, trends getting better within the past couple of years, I do think that horror is still kind of a male-dominated genre, and sometimes even the greatest of the greats, I'm looking at you, Stephen King, their characterizations of women kind of leave a little less to be desired. And this book's really heavy, so I'm putting it down. Their characterizations of women leave a lot to be desired, I notice, especially in I'll take Stephen King because I think he's the most popular horror writer. For example, some of the descriptions are kind of little bit creepy, and I just think it's kind of hard for a lot of men to write even just physical descriptions of women without being overtly sexual, and then kind of writing female characters that aren't caricatures. So I think that's something Joe Hill does so well, is write really great nuanced female protagonists that you're gonna love. So I loved every single character. Pretty much. Even the secondary characters just have so much vibrancy and color, and you feel like they're real people and you want to root for them. And the bad character is terrifying for so many reasons, but among those is that his motivations are because he thinks he's saving people, and that's something that, you know, good horror does so well. You know, no one thinks that they're the bad guy. Everyone's the protagonist in his or her own story, and a really well done piece of horror fiction does that. Like, you can see where Charlie, the bad guy, is coming from in this book, and that is kind of terrifying to me when you can actually identify with an antagonist. 5 out of 5 stars. The plot also is like nothing I've really read before. and this was a really great read. I will say it's a little bit long for a readathon, and my only regret with this one was that I did read it for a readathon because I probably would have spent a little bit more time on it had I not been reading it as part of a readathon. But oh well, that was still a really great experience, and I'm really glad I read it, and I am glad that I did get a 5-star read out of this readathon. Overall, I thought the readathon did really well. This is the most successful readathon that I have ever done. I'm a really big mood reader, and I don't stick to TBR lists, but this one I read 3 out of 4 books, and I'm continuing to read the 4th book, and I do actually like that, you know, I had a range from like 2.5 stars to 5-star. That's just fun for me. I'm a little bit of a low grader when it comes to rating books. Like, I think 3 stars is a good rating. I don't think there's anything bad with that. I have lots of books that I rate that are 3 stars that there's nothing really wrong with. It just wasn't, you know, groundbreaking or anything for me. So I did like having that full on range, and even the 2.5-star book, like, it was a thriller, so it was a page turner and easy for me to read. And that just about wraps it up. I will leave the Goodreads descriptions for all the books that I talked about down below. Normally, I would actually go in depth and kind of explain more in terms of plot for each book that I read. However, I did daily vlog during this readathon. I already read the synopsises for all the books that I did end up reading, so I didn't want to repeat myself in this video for the sake of the people who have watched those videos. I just didn't want to repeat, you know, information I've already said. So I will leave everything down below if you want to check any of them out. And that is going to be it for this video. If you liked it, please give it a thumbs up, leave a comment down below, and subscribe for more content from me, and I will see you guys tomorrow. Bye!